Alright, welcome back to the channel. I'm not going to really be doing anything how-to in this video other than explaining why I choose to use deionized water. Obviously deionized water, you get no water spots on your paint. So a day like today, it's probably 88, 90 degrees, probably feels like closer to 95. Even though I am still in the shade, I still can't help but start sweating and what have you. So the reason I choose to use deionized water is because the fear of not having any water spots. So here where I live, water is very hard, and even washing in the shade, you're going to be chasing your tail, and you're really going to have to rush the washing and the drying process to prevent any water spots from forming. And especially on a vehicle like a truck or a big SUV, it's inevitable you're going to get water spots some way or another if you don't use deionized water, regardless if you're in your shade or not. Now, a lot of people say, oh, you can just wash the vehicle at night. Well, yes, that is true, but now you're chasing daylight hours, and now you risk, finishing up, cleaning your vehicle in the dark, and it just doesn't make any sense. So, for deionized water, it doesn't, you can wash the vehicle, you can take your time, you can make sure you clean everything thoroughly, and then when you rinse everything down, you don't have to worry about water spots or anything permanently etching into the paint, because it's filtering out all the hard minerals, chlorine, magnesium, whatever's in our drinking tap water. It filters all that out and is 100% purified water. So you can wash it in the full sun, in the middle of the heat of the day, and you don't have to fear of any water spots. It is still good practice to wash in the shade. That way the soap doesn't dry, or creates soap streaks or things like that. But the downside to deionized water is it can get on the expensive side. So someone that details professionally might have to look into a reverse osmosis system, which doesn't have any resin or anything like that. It's reverse osmosis. It's you're backtracking the process of filtering of water, particularly what you'd find at a car wash. They use reverse osmosis for the spot-free water, but even that is not always going to be 100% spot-free. There still might be some minerals left behind, but it still buys you a little bit of time. You don't have to rush, worry about drying and getting water spots. If it's a lighter colored vehicle, silver, white, gold, it might be a little bit different. Water spots are a little harder to see on those vehicles, and water spots tend to form on glass before they tend to form on the paint, or they etch quicker on glass than they do on the paint for whatever reason. I don't know, but glass is easy to remove water spots. You just take some 0000 steel wool, and you can remove water spots instantly from glass. You can't do that to the paint, obviously. You'd either have to get a water spot remover, or you have to bust out the polisher and polish. And obviously you can't polish the vehicle every time you wash it, so having a deionized water system is definitely a good option. There's tons of setups out there where guys can switch it from tap water into deionized water and go back and forth so that they can preserve their resin and get more life out of it, and just doing the final rinse for the vehicle. But a lot of those guys that have those setups do have a garage, a shop, so they have they can buy more time because they're not out in the elements where the water is drying on the paint. Whereas here outside, the water, even though it's in the shade, the panels are still, they're not hot, but they're still warm. And the reason that they're still warm is because of the air temperature. Even though this truck's been sitting in the shade for over an hour and hasn't been driven for several hours, the paint is still very warm to the touch, and it will be until sundown. So deionized water definitely helps me out and washing and not getting any water spots. The setup that I use is CR Spotless. I have the alternate setup where there's a company out there that has a tube that you stick up into the top of the filter, and instead of using those plastic fill cartridges, you just dump the resin directly into the blue cylinder and then stick that tube in there, and it has perforated holes at the bottom that allow the water to travel through and keeps the resin contained. So that gets me a little bit more life out of my resin than the plastic cartridges. And what's nice about it is it already has a TDS meter already built in, so I can continually check the TDS, all the water. As soon as it starts hitting 1 or above, I immediately stop what I'm doing, change it, because once it starts reading 1, there is going to be minerals, and that number goes up quickly. You could start at 1, and by the time you're done washing, it could be above 20. And when it's above 20, it's guaranteed that you will start getting water spots if you don't dry them in time. So that's just a quick little video about why I use deionized water and how it benefits me. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments.